So, we are in New York for the Robert Brooks case to see what's going on with it. Remember Robert Brooks, right? If not, I did several videos on this. I don't remember when it was, but I did several on it. And we're going to see what New York has to say about it, and we're going to see if these correction officers are going to have any accountability. See if they get what's coming to them.
It's crucial evidence in this whole case, the officer's body camera footage. For that part of our team coverage, we turn to News Channel 9's Kendra Brodus, who's also live at the Oneida County Courthouse. Kendra, good evening.
Hi, Jeff. That's absolutely right. What makes this case so unique is that so many people have seen this brutal video of the beating of Robert Brooks. The Attorney General released the video in late December, showing the beating of Brooks. He was punched, choked, and kicked, all while handcuffed. D.A. Fitzpatrick was adamant today that the investigation found that in no way did Robert Brooks provoke the officers to take the actions against him. That video footage is incredibly valuable to the case and as to why correctional officers were charged the way that they were. What D.A. Fitzpatrick found to be extremely disturbing about the video, other than the beating itself, was the sense of normalcy that was also recorded among those in the room.
Yes, and those standing around laughing, and like the nurses that came in and peeked in the door and looked and were laughing. It's ridiculous.
Fitzpatrick went on to talk about the ironic feature of the case and that the officers did not know they were being recorded. And Governor Hochul also weighing in on the
because they don't understand how body cameras work. They're idiots.
Importance of body camera footage.
I went to the site. I was in the
Also, this one is another complete idiot.
Room where the murders and attacks occurred. It was shocking to know that this had gone on. And if it wasn't for some body cameras, who knows if we would have known about it.
What was that about? And if it wasn't for some body cameras, and she was completely shocked and almost at a loss for words. Yeah, only because he died is any of this coming to light.
Didn't have that feature of recording the previous 30 minutes and saving that into the cloud or whatever they call it, would we be here today? Would Robert, in my judgment, would have gone to see Attorney Schwartz, and Attorney Schwartz would have said, well, I don't know what happened.
Fitzpatrick said that while his assistants watched that video dozens of times, he could only watch it beginning to end once. In Utica, Kendra Brodus, News Channel 9.
Thank you, Kendra. So, what did Kathy say? She couldn't believe what was going on? She's an idiot.
Cuts all over his face, arms, legs. Those are just some of the listed injuries on Robert Brooks' autopsy report. Marcy Correctional Facility officers beat the grease man on December 9th. A court filing shows the medical examiner said his preliminary cause of death was asphyxia due to compression of the neck. The state is firing the 13 corrections officers and a nurse involved. The criminal investigation into their actions continues. News 10 NBC investigative reporter Jennifer Lukey learned other inmates are suing Marcy Correctional Facility and some of the very same corrections officers for abuse.
This man says he suffered a similar beating at the hands of corrections officers, and these pictures taken in the exact same infirmary where Robert Brooks was beaten. Adam Bauer had less than a year left on his sentence for a non-violent drug charge when he says corrections officers attacked him in a bathroom at Marcy.
He was kicked and punched repeatedly. He sustained serious injuries. He had to have approximately 20 stitches to the top of his head. He was taken to the outside hospital.
The head injury, he says, caused by a metal clasp on a clipboard that was slammed over his head.
And then when they took him to the outside hospital, they told the hospital, don't know what happened. He did this to himself. It's in my other video.
Some officers at Marcy seem to have the impression that they can engage in brutality against incarcerated people without consequence.
Well, they kind of can. They've been getting away with it for probably decades.
Mr. Bauer, my client, thought that he was going to die the day that he was assaulted by officers back in 2020. He feared for his life.
When he got out of prison, Adam Bauer filed a lawsuit against the officers and the facility. That suit is about to go to trial. One of the COs named in it is Nicholas Anzalone, also seen in the Brooks beating video.
So the question for me is more, why did docs accept this for so long? And why did it undervalue and dismiss the value of so many people's lives up in?
Because they didn't care. Because, I mean, you know, people die all the time according to them. And one dies, another one will take its place and they'll just get more money. They don't care.
Until now. And what changes are needed to really address that in a true way, not in a flashy press moment.
This one should get the death penalty. They won't, but this one, it's ridiculous.
On Monday, the governor visited Marcy. She spoke with inmates, named a new superintendent, will fund an independent investigation, and is expediting.
And they're walking in, and he's saying, okay, we need to look like we're talking about something important, so hand gestures.
Money for more cameras across the entire prison system. I'm wondering what you think of what the state has done so far in regards to this situation.
Now that this has become public, there's suddenly a big outcry and an interest in fixing the problem, and I believe it's genuine, and I'm glad that it's happened. But to really fix the problem, we need to look deeper into who are the people running these prisons, who are the people working there, what is the culture that allowed this to occur. It's not just a question of rolling out some new policies on a day. It's a question of, will they be implemented? Will they be followed? Is there going to be cultural change that forces the end of these kinds of horrific acts?
Adam Bauer has been out of prison for several years now. He has a steady job. His son is getting ready to get married, and he is looking forward to the future, a possible future that was taken away from Robert Brooks. Jennifer Lukey, News 10 NBC.
Thank you, Jennifer.
The autopsy details on Robert Brooks were part of a temporary extreme risk protection order that was filed by state police in Jefferson County, where one of the correctional officers involved lives. That order was filed to remove any firearms from his home. Police are investigating the first confirmed homicide of the year.
I'm not sure what that's got to do with anything, but anyway. And what's this one?
Now, court documents show the violence prison staff.
Oh, yeah. More violence that the governor didn't know about.
Upon Brooks is likely not isolated. Others are suing Marcy's corrections officers for attacks that have striking similarities to what happened to Brooks that we saw on video. The I-Team's Connor White's in here with studio information tonight. Connor?
Matt, these lawsuits show a pattern where Marcy Corrections officers gang up on inmates. Once the beatings are over, the inmates are the only ones punished, ending up in solitary confinement, allowing 3 officers named in those earlier lawsuits to be on the job and in the room when Brooks was brutally beaten. The images shown in this report are graphic. New York City.
When is it going to end?
Albany.
For too long, nothing has been done.
Rochester. Hundreds rallied across the state after seeing Marcy Corrections officers repeatedly hit a bloodied and dazed Robert Brooks.
And the Attorney General's office is representing 3 of these in other cases, which is why they recuse themselves from this case.
A beating captured on body camera footage released by the state Attorney General on Friday.
The things with Mr. Brooks was nothing new. It wasn't an anomaly. I have witnessed a lot of abuse. I've been in facilities where people were killed.
Thomas Gant at the Rochester rally is a leader with the Center for Community Alternatives and knows the system well, serving 25 years behind bars in state prisons.
There's so many grievances. There's so many claims of abuse that people have been, claiming for so long that has been, again, just brushed off to the side, or the person if it isn't believed.
Gant sees a pattern of abuse across the state prison system. At Marcy, it's a pattern spelled out in lawsuits that name some of the officers involved in Brooks's death. Adam Bauer, who was in Marcy for a nonviolent drug offense, says corrections officers left him with gashes in his head in an unprovoked attack in 2020, wounds that required more than 20 stitches. William Alvarez says officers made up a reason to attack him, leaving him with a permanent facial deformity and other injuries that required surgery. Both men say the attacks began in bathrooms and continued inside vans transporting them to the prison infirmary. The first lawsuit names corrections officer Nicholas Anzalone. The second names officers Glenn Trombley and Anthony Farina. Those 3 were among the 14 either striking Brooks or standing by while the beating happened.
For every act of violence caught on camera, countless more in prisons are ignored, justified, or even covered up. Our prisons are not places of safety. They are places of unchecked violence.
Those lawsuits were filed in 2022. The same year, the Corrections Association of New York found evidence of widespread abuse at Marcy, recommending the state investigate. Governor Hochul is now promising sweeping changes with Brooks dead. In studio, I'm Connor White.
Thank you, Connor. Now she's promising, of course she is. So, how many are there going to be?
From your breaking news and weather authority, this is 13 WHAM News at 5.
Breaking news, murder, manslaughter, and gang assault charges filed in the death of Rochester native and inmate Robert Brooks. Former prison employees all facing a judge this afternoon, while demands for justice echoed during a tense encounter outside court. Today's major turn in the case comes more than 2 months after Robert Brooks died, a death which authorities now say was an act of murder. Good afternoon, I'm Matt Malloy.
And I'm Lowell Rose, and for Karen. The suspects are now charged in the case, Brooks' family and others demanding justice. He was 43 years old when he died in December.
Charges vary among the defendants. 9 of them listed here faced a judge this afternoon in Utica. The name of a 10th person charged in the case has yet to be released. Now, the case has drawn outrage since news emerged of the December 9th incident at Marcy Correctional Facility in Oneida County. 13 WHAM's Natalie Calzatoni is on the major turn in this case. Natalie, good evening to you.
Good evening to you, Matt and Lowell. The family of Robert Brooks among those in the courtroom as the charges were announced. Supporters also showing up chanting justice for Robert Brooks. 6 former Marcy Corrections officers are now indicted for second-degree murder in the beating death of Brooks, an inmate who was handcuffed. Those officers are Nicholas Anzalone, David Kingsley, Anthony Farina, Christopher Walrath, Matthew Gallagher, and one named defendant set to be arraigned Monday. 4 others are also facing lesser charges. All entered a plea of not guilty, and I'm told 3 unnamed Marcy employees have reached plea agreements. According to the indictment, upon arriving to the emergency room of the infirmary at Marcy in December, Brooks was at various times restrained, beaten, choked, gagged, and forcibly moved and kicked. These beatings and other assaults were perpetrated by defendants while acting in concert with each other. The special prosecutor on the case, Onondaga County, William Fitzpatrick, says Brooks died from a massive beating to his body, repeated restrictions of airways, and choking on his own blood. Brooks' son speaking out after facing his father's accused killers for the first time.
I would never get my father back. The men have robbed me of that opportunity. Still, indictments are an important step toward accountability. These men murdered my father.
Accountability? Good luck with that.
It was on video. The whole world got to see it. Waiting a month for these charges have been extremely hard, but these men need to be prosecuted and convicted of the crimes they made.
I think any sentient human being looking at the tapes naturally comes to the conclusion that he must have said something. He must have spit at the officers.
Even if he says something, even if he spit at them, do they understand what their job is? Think about it. They're corrections officers. If you can't do the job, go somewhere else.
He must have resisted in some way, and the fact of the matter is he did absolutely nothing.
Now, Fitzpatrick says at least 6 defendants made bond today, and supporters here expressed their outrage. I'm told there are at least 2 current or former Marcy employees and 1 current or former Mohawk Correctional Facility employee still under investigation. Reporting live in Utica, Natalie Calzatoni, 13 WHAM News. Back to you.
Thank you, Natalie.
From your breaking news and weather authority.
Also, found a 10th one.
Sorry? You want to sit at the podium? Or? Yeah, right at the podium, and you can move the microphone up there. Thank you. This is the matter of people against Nicholas Kiefer, indictment 25035 on for arraignment today. And
Mr. Curley, I understand you're appearing of counsel to Attorney David Loncoretta, who's been retained in this matter. Is that correct?
It is, Judge.
All right. Sir, that's your name, Nicholas Kiefer?
Yes, sir.
How old are you, Mr. Kiefer?
33.
Mr. Kiefer, you're here today because the grand jury of Oneida County returned an indictment against you. You do have to be arraigned upon that. Counsel, you may arraign.
Thank you, Your Honor. The people of the state of New York, by indictment number I-2025-035, the grand jury of the county of Oneida, by this indictment, accuses Nicholas Kiefer of the felony crime of murder in the second degree. Defense counsel, do you waive a further reading of the indictment?
Yes.
Your Honor, providing defense counsel a copy of this.
Now, they're all getting, well, they're not. The ones that are being charged with murder in the second degree are getting murder in the second degree because it's murder in the second degree doesn't have an aggravating factor. Murder in the first degree has an aggravating factor, which would be if you killed, if law enforcement was killed, if a corrections officer was killed, if a firefighter was killed, if a paramedic was killed, a witness, then that's an aggravating factor and it bumps it up to first degree murder. They're getting second degree murder.
Indictment as well as the people's standard pretrial notices, one of which is our intent to use statements allegedly made by the defendant. The people are also providing a disc with recorded statements from the defendant. Defense counsel, do you acknowledge receipt?
I do. I acknowledge receipt of those documents and the disc. I waive any further reading, Judge. I plead not guilty on all charges.
Very good. A not guilty plea is entered on the defendant's behalf. It's the court's intention at this time, along with the other cases, to adjourn this matter to March 31st. It will be at 9:30 a.m. for a pretrial conference. Did either side want to be heard on the question of bail?
Yes, Your Honor. The people would like to be heard.
Go right ahead.
Your Honor, the co-defendants in this case have previously had bail set at $100,000 cash, $250,000 bond, $1 million partially secured bond. The people believe that the defendant should have the same amount set on him, along with Mr. Enzlone, Kingsley, Frena, and Walrath and Gallagher. And we would ask that he provide the defense with his passport, and the defense allow the people in the court to be notified when that has been done.
Thank you. Mr. Curley, first of all, does your client have a passport?
Not with him, Judge. He has one, and we'll see when it gets to the court.
That will be a condition that he turn that in. Did you want to be heard on the topic of bail, Mr. Curley?
No, Judge.
He looks scared to death. He should be scared to death. He should be facing life in prison. He won't, but he should get some prison time.
We're prepared to go forward on that basis. We have a bail bond in here.
Just 1 second. Court officer, you can pass that over to Mr. Curley, please. The court has considered the arguments of counsel here this morning, considered all of the statutory factors.
He's probably wondering, I just thought about this, in his head, wait, if I go to prison, are they going to beat me too? No. Maybe I'll tell them I want to go to Marcy, where all my buddies are working at.
Noting in particular that the defendant, if convicted of the top count, could face as much as 25 years to life in state prison. Bail is set in the following amounts. That is $100,000 cash, $250,000 insurance company bail bond, and $1 million partially secured surety bond with a minimum 10% deposit. With that, I understand our bondsman has some paperwork. You may have to sign your order, or would you need to take a quick look at what you have? Appearing before me now is Bondsman J. Bernardo. Mr. Bernardo, do you swear to the truth of the content of your bail undertaking an affidavit? I do, Your Honor.
He needs a lint roller right there. That's getting on my nerves.
Mr. Kiefer, I have before me a proposed bail bond in the amount of $250,000. I understand you're asking to be released upon this. Is that correct? Yes. All right. You
understand what your number one
You're allowed to say yes. You can answer that question.
obligation is under this bond. Yes. What is that? Yeah, my court case. I'm back to court. Exactly right. So some things to understand. First of all, you do have a right to be present at all stages of proceedings in your case. If for some reason you did not come back to court as required,
And put
then
a
a
warrant
warrant
out.
would be issued for your arrest. The bail posted by way of this bond that would be forfeited and lost, and you would then face a new felony charge. That's known as bail jumping. And your case could proceed in your absence. That means you could be tried in your absence, and if you were convicted, sentenced in your absence as well. Do you understand that? Yes, sir. I've received now a document entitled Parker Warning, which outlines in writing the same warnings that I just gave you. Can you confirm for me that you signed this document here in court after you reviewed it with your attorney today? Yes, sir. Or this signing and approving bail bond. Mr. Kiefer, you will be back in this court on March 31st at 9:30 a.m. for a pretrial conference. Keep in touch with your attorney. In the meantime, that passport is to be turned in promptly. Thank you, Ren.
And that's it. It walks around the courthouse and the courtroom and they yap about some random shit. So, anyway, what's going on now?
Oneida County, where the grand jury is not done with its work after already indicting 10 people connected to the murder of a Marcy prison inmate. 6 correction workers charged with murder yesterday. But tonight, News Channel 9's Kendra Brodus explains this is not the end of the special prosecutor's work.
One by one, 9 correction officers were brought into court, each handcuffed, hearing charges against them.
You have been charged by an Oneida County grand jury with various crimes, the top count of which is murder in the second degree.
But the special prosecutor's work isn't done. A 10th person will be arrested next week, the 6th to be charged with murder and manslaughter, the 2nd to be charged with gang assault. And there might be more suspects.
At least 2 current or former Marcy employees and at least 1 current or former Mohawk employee are still under investigation, and the grand jury is still sitting and still able to hear evidence.
But the grand jury didn't wait to get these 5 in custody, charged with murder based on a legal theory called depraved indifference, meaning they didn't care if Brooks survived.
Our investigation further revealed that there was no provocation by Robert Brooks that would have precipitated any physical response whatsoever, never mind the physical response that was inflicted upon him.
The beating happened within minutes of Brooks being moved from Mohawk to Marcy Correctional Facility. We're learning for the first time that on his way, Brooks was assaulted twice by 3 of the officers facing murder charges. Not caught on camera, but shared by witnesses. 3 additional officers are charged with manslaughter for doing nothing while the beating took place. And 1 was tampering with this.
So, why can 3 of them be charged with manslaughter for not doing anything, but I haven't heard anything about the nurses yet?
Physical evidence, accused of cleaning up Brooks' blood to cover up the assault. The 9 men arraigned in court on Thursday are all expected back in court on March 31st. Kendra Brodus, News Channel 9.
Thank you, Kendra. Next.
Tonight, tense moments in court as one by one and in handcuffs, 9 former or suspended New York State Corrections officers made their first appearance before an Oneida County judge. 5 of them, Nicholas Anzalone, David Kingsley, Anthony Farina, Christopher Walrath, and Matthew Gallagher, facing murder charges for the December death of inmate Robert Brooks. Redacted body camera video from that day shows the group of officers repeatedly kicking and punching Brooks in the legs and chest and trying to jam an object down his throat.
These men murdered my father. It was on video. The whole world got to see it.
The alleged murder happened inside a medical examination room at the Marcy Correctional Facility in upstate New York on December 9th of last year.
Robert Brooks committed a crime. He was doing his time. He had a right to safety, to humanity. He was denied that. This is unacceptable.
3 other corrections officers, David Walters, Michael Fisher, and Michael Mashaw, facing charges of manslaughter, and 1, Nicholas Gentile, of tampering with evidence.
Our investigation further revealed that there was no provocation by Robert Brooks that would have precipitated any physical response whatsoever, never mind the physical response that was inflicted upon him.
All defendants pleading not guilty today.
Waiting formal proceedings entered into not guilty of charges at this time.
And released on bail or in Gentile's case of his own recognizance. Brooks was serving a 12-year sentence for stabbing his girlfriend and died from his injuries the next day.
I would never get my father back. The man had robbed me of that opportunity.
Robert Brooks's father among those watching today from the courtroom.
You marched him out. You let him go. My son didn't get that opportunity. My son didn't have a bail. And my son didn't have a murder charge.
The only reason we're hearing about this is because Robert Brooks died. You know damn well this has been going on for a long time.
And Marquise Francis joins us now. Marquise, there is one more individual in this case facing a murder charge who did not appear in court at all today.
Yeah, that's right, Morgan. There's a sixth defendant, unnamed defendant, that was also charged with murder. And in fact, this person's name was redacted in the unsealed court documents that were revealed in court today. Now, what we did hear from the district attorney, person...
I don't know why they keep saying sealed, unsealed, redacted. We're not going to say who it is because we just saw, when you look at all the names, the 10 or 11 they already have, and this guy, they say his name, that name's not on there. I'm just saying, process of elimination, that's him.
Was unable to surrender themselves today and appear in court, but they are not a flight risk. Even though we do not know their name, they are expected to appear before a judge in the near future.
And we know you'll be watching all of it. Marquise, we thank you.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah. Nobody talking to you. And then, oops. We have this.
A national spotlight is now on Marcy Correctional Facility after the beating of Robert Brooks. The I-Team is revealing multiple warning signs of brutality inside the prison facility and information that state corrections officials were likely aware something was wrong. The I-Team's Connor White reports now.
Body-worn camera footage provides an unflinching look at brutality inside Marcy Correctional, as multiple corrections officers savagely beat Robert Brooks the day before he died. The kind of brutality that inmates have been flagging for years.
These are the very kinds of allegations that we hear routinely, and they simply do not typically
routinely? But that can't be right because that's not what Kathy said earlier.
Caught on camera.
Jennifer Scaife is the executive director of the Correctional Association of New York, a nonprofit watchdog of the state prison system, which came to Marcy in a routine visit in 2022. In a 62-page report, the organization found that about 80% of inmates said they were either witnesses to or victims of verbal, physical, or sexual abuse.
80%.
67% say they were victims of racial abuse. One inmate told them that corrections officers would, quote, brag and intimidate us about the number of people they've beat or sprayed.
I think certainly officials have been aware of allegations for quite some time.
The report calls for the Attorney General's office and the Inspector General to investigate claims of abuse. It's unclear if anyone looked at the prison before Brooks died. Claims of beating, similar to what Brooks suffered, are documented in 2 lawsuits from 2022. Lawsuits which name 3 of the same people in this room. This week, Governor Kathy Hochul announced sweeping changes at the facility, installing a new superintendent.
Please stop with the governor and this and that and gonna do. No. They'll hire new people and they'll move along and it'll keep happening. And the next time somebody dies, you'll hear it again.
And expediting a program to install more security and body cameras.
I was really shocked that the governor did respond so fast.
Thomas Gant, an advocate with Center for Community Alternatives.
Well, she kind of had to. It was on video and it got out.
Says the governor's actions are encouraging, describing a perpetual pattern of corrections officers getting away with violence.
Perpetual.
It's a good step. The governor did not go far enough.
The state attorney general's office is working on criminal charges for the 14 people involved in Brooks's death. In Syracuse, I'm Connor White.
She didn't want to go that far. What about the nurses?
And good afternoon. Thank you for joining us this Wednesday afternoon. I'm Steve McMurray, in for Gary Liberatore this week. We begin this noon with new developments in the fatal beating death of Robert Brooks. First, the Onondaga County District Attorney has confirmed his office will not charge 3 nurses who were initially part of the investigation into the fatal beating of Marcy Correctional
Why would they not charge them? Somebody let me know. Why wouldn't they charge them?
Inmate Robert Brooks. DA Bill Fitzpatrick tells us the 3 were ordered by one of the defendants to stay out of the prison infirmary emergency room.
Emergency room. Nurses. Not where you'd expect to see a nurse. The emergency room. I'm just saying.
Where the fatal beating took place. The attorney...
And it just stops there for no particular reason. But anything else?
New tonight, 10 state corrections officers are now weighing plea deals for the charges they face in the December...
Weighing plea deals. They're already offering them plea deals. Who was surprised about that? Nobody. I think they kind of have to, though. I think it's like the whole course of the court is they get offered a plea deal. 0 of them should be offered a plea deal, but that's your system for you.
Murder of inmate Robert Brooks. Good evening, I'm Matt Mulcahy. Megan is off tonight. The prison officers charged in the violent death of the Marcy inmate have plea deals to consider now. Onondaga County DA Bill Fitzpatrick, acting as the special prosecutor, offered deals to all 10 officers who stand accused of playing a role in Brooks's death. All 10 appeared in Oneida County Court today. All worked at Marcy State Prison where Brooks was killed. Body cameras that were turned off but still recording, to the surprise of officers, captured video of the violent attack.
To the surprise of officers, that shit works when we don't turn... No, it's always recording. When you hit it, when you click it, it turns the audio on. They're too dumb to know that.
Brooks is being seen being punched, kicked, and restrained in those video while in handcuffs. He died the next day. The I-Team's Connor White takes us inside the courtroom where the special prosecutor also hinted at a possible federal investigation.
On Monday, another routine step in a somewhat extraordinary case. All 10 officers...
The federal investigation is probably going to be something to the effect of under color of law. That's a federal offense.
Accused in Robert Brooks's death coming publicly to the courtroom. It's something that former inmates and advocates will tell you is rare when it comes to cases of alleged abuse happening inside state prisons. And there are a lot of eyes on this, including now federal prosecutors. And at least one defense attorney came to the judge to complain about some of the comments being made outside the courtroom. Robert Brooks' son back in court Monday to see the state prison corrections officers accused of killing his father. The fatal encounter happening in December at Marcy Prison as Brooks was arriving from another prison in a seemingly routine transfer.
Seemingly routine? Did any of that look seemingly routine? If it did, that should be a problem on its face.
Did not turn their body cameras on, but a default setting still recorded the attack. The gruesome video showing repeated kicks and punches to Brooks, who was handcuffed and restrained throughout. 6 of the men are now charged with murder.
I wonder who's gonna be the rat and turn the evidence on them.
Are facing manslaughter charges for recklessly causing Brooks's death, and 1 faces a tampering with evidence charge. Special Prosecutor Bill Fitzpatrick, the Onondaga County District Attorney, is now offering all 10 plea deals. No one shared details in open court, and Fitzpatrick declined to comment afterwards. Nicholas Pasalacqua, defense attorney for David Walters, told reporters off camera that the DA's disposition includes a recommended sentence on the lower to mid-range of what the judge will consider. It's unclear what's on the table for others, who have at least 2 weeks to make a decision on the state charges. These defendants learning they could also face federal charges, with the U.S. Attorney's Office out of Rochester now investigating.
They are actively pursuing the matter. I have suggested to them that the dispositions I have offered would satisfy the case completely. They have not agreed to that, but they did respond in a favorable manner, indicating they would consider that.
A lawyer representing the family of Robert Brooks sending this brief and pointed statement, quote, "These officers were caught red-handed on camera beating Robert to death. It's an open and shut case. They need to take responsibility for their actions."
Responsibility for their actions, that would assume that people are expecting some accountability. I guess we'll see.
All of the officers are due back here in court at some stage over the next 2 to 4 weeks to consider next steps ahead of a potential trial. Reporting in Utica, I'm Connor White.
District Attorney Fitzpatrick is also the special prosecutor investigating the death of 22-year-old mid-state correctional inmate Messiah Nantwi.
Yeah. I did a video too on that one too.
Who died March 1st. The State Attorney General's office has said there is probable cause to believe as many as 9 correctional officers either caused or could be implicated in his death. New tonight, 10...
Stop. Who was surprised about that? 0 people are surprised about any of that. I'm just saying. Anyway, let me know what you think about this one in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Also, we're down to 89% now. 89% of people that watch these videos are not subscribed to our channel. Got your phone in your hand, your laptop, click the button, and we will move along. Let me know what you think about this one, and I'm out.